negotiation, you have to have conversations. And I think it's apparent, abundantly clear, that there has been a great divide between the players and our commissioner or the league office in order to have productive conversations. And now Nafisa's statement that she made in her exit interview is accountability. WNBA players never want to throw out all the smoke. They don't. They only do it when necessary. They're always strategic. They're always calculated. You talk about the t-shirt they wore at All-Star. That was a collective decision. These are members of the executive committee of the WNBA making these statements. And obviously, they understand that.
You are not going to believe what just unfolded. Picture this. Adam Silver, the commissioner himself, brings his palm crashing onto the table with a sharp crack, his eyes locked on Kathy Angelbert, and he says, with frost in his tone, "You crossed a boundary." We're talking about 4 players. A maze of hidden directives and unnerving threats. Silver's declaration that this stops now. In that single explosive moment, the very foundation of the WNBA universe violently split apart. Before we dive into the details, you need to be fully tuned in, because the story I'm about to walk you through is wilder than anything the league has ever seen. In this dramatic alternate reality version of the WNBA, the tension was already boiling. You could sense it everywhere. Players were unsettled, fans were furious, sponsors were starting to raise some very uncomfortable questions, but nobody, and I mean nobody, could have imagined the shockwave that was about to hit. Rumors erupted that 4 of the league's brightest young stars had been suddenly removed. No warning, no press briefing, no explanation of any kind. The league just went completely silent, and that's when the whispers started flying like wildfire. This wasn't a normal roster call. Someone had ordered it. Someone sitting very high up. The entire league froze in disbelief. Reports began circulating, claiming that in this fictional storyline, Kathy had grown enraged by the players' rising independence, their growing fame, and the tight loyalties forming inside locker rooms. According to the story, she assigned a special internal operative with a dark assignment: pressure these players, intimidate them into compliance, and quietly push them out of the league. But as we all know, things like this rarely stay hidden for long.
She's worried about her. In all of her statements, it's all like, well, I got us here and I should. And Kathy, no one cares. Literally, no one cares. Like how you're sitting right there, that's how we feel every time she speaks. Every time she speaks, us as players, that's how we feel.
And, you know, I think what people need to understand, you know, we need great leadership in this time across all levels. This is a moment we have to capitalize on. So that's honestly what I would say. I think there's, you know, Fee said it all with what she said, and you know.
That's when everything blew open. One player, taking a massive risk, leaks a damning voice recording. Another steps forward and releases a shocking email chain. Then a third player goes live on social media, tears rolling down her face, saying, "We weren't cut, we were targeted." And with those words, the entire narrative flipped. Adam Silver enters this fictional plot not as a commissioner, but as a force of nature. He reportedly cancels every high-level meeting and walks straight into league headquarters without warning. Witnesses say his expression was carved with disbelief and simmering anger. He reads every report. He listens to the leaked audio. He watches the emotional live streams from these heartbroken young athletes. And then he speaks the 7 words that send the entire internet into meltdown. If this is true, Kathy sabotaged the league. What follows is straight out of a movie. Adam Silver storms into the executive conference room. Kathy looks up, trying to appear composed, but the tension is suffocating. Adam drops a thick file onto the glossy table, the sound booming through the room. 4 players, he says, voice low and dangerous. Internal pressure aimed at our rising stars. What in the world were you thinking? And Kathy, in this fictional retelling, answers with a chilling line: "I did what I had to." They were getting bigger than the league.
Yesterday on First Take, you called for Kathy Engelbert's resignation from her role as WNBA commissioner. When you hear Caitlin Clark there, how does that strike you?
Doesn't strike me at all. Same reaction. Kathy Engelbert should resign as the commissioner of the WNBA. And the reason I said that, fellas, is because when a play, and I say that not in any kind of derogatory way, she was talking about Kathy Engelbert directly. She revealed private conversations, you understand, with quotes from this lady, the commissioner, about what she said that came across as dismissive, as derogatory, and unappreciative of the athletes that represent her league. And then the person I call the golden goose of the WNBA, Caitlin Clark, you understand, who is box office for the WNBA. Just look at the numbers, look at the ratings, look at everything. For her to come out and said, Fee said it all. She's letting you know that Nafisha Collier didn't lie, she didn't mince words, and she didn't misrepresent what the collective body of the league is feeling about this commissioner and her leadership. You cannot, and then the biggest point, guys, that I made yesterday, and this is the number one reason I called for Kathy Engelbert to resign. I don't care who it is. If somebody calls you out publicly and you're in a leadership position and you've been called out publicly and attacked that way, you don't give what I said was that weak ass response that Kathy Engelbert, I'm gonna say it again because people thought I stuttered just there. I don't know how because I don't stutter. Weak ass comeback. I'm gonna say it one more time. Weak ass comeback. That's what she did. When you were attacked like that, what you did was provide fodder to the belief.
Adam's jaw practically drops. You can see fury and disappointment fighting for space on his face. He stares at her and says, "The players are the league." A heavy, suffocating silence settles over the room, thick enough to slice through. After a long pause, Adam Silver rises to his full height and delivers the ruling. "Kathy, you're suspended, effective immediately." Gasps ripple through the building. As the news spreads, security steps in, a clear confirmation that this is not a drill. Phones come out instantly, turning this private confrontation into a viral earthquake ripping through the sports world. Outside, fans gather in growing numbers. Some cheer Silver's decision, some cry openly for the future of their league. Others chant, "Bring back the players." The investigation accelerates, and what it uncovers is staggering. It turns out, again in this fictional universe, that Kathy had been trying to seize full control of the league's direction. By forcing out players she viewed as too influential, too loved, or too powerful, she believed she could tighten her grip. She wanted absolute control. But instead of executing a silent takeover, she triggered a full-scale uprising. Coaches began speaking out on behalf of their players. Former legends condemned the actions. Even referees started sharing anonymous statements, all echoing the same sentiment. This has crossed the line. This wasn't a single misstep. It was a catastrophic chain reaction spreading through locker rooms. The emotional toll was brutal. One player completely breaks down, saying, "We gave everything to this sport, and they treated us like threats." Another adds, "I just wanted respect. Instead, I was punished." Fans flood social media, posting videos and messages demanding justice. And honestly, they were right.
When people talked about at the beginning of the season, the high tide lifts all boats or whatever, basically, like, if you buy into this, everybody is going to eat. Yet you had people fighting tooth and nail the entire season, not wanting it to be this way because other people weren't getting flowers, or she was getting too much attention, or she gets a special whistle, or I'm gonna check her off the ball here just because. And then her teammate cheers for her for throwing her on the ground. It didn't get better. And it's disappointing to me because it's not every player in the WNBA. And I'm sure that there are many players who are happy to have her in the league. And it's like, if it was my league and somebody was coming in and bringing millions of people, like, I would be excited about that, because you know what? That's a chance for me to impress millions of people who weren't
For the sponsors, watching the chaos erupt start calling league headquarters, demanding explanations and threatening to pull funding. The pressure mounts and mounts until it becomes unbearable, and that's when Adam Silver makes his final stand, declaring, "The players deserve protection, the league deserves honesty, and this ends now." A full emergency board meetings assembled. Adam Silver stands before them and lays out every piece of evidence, every message, every statement, every incriminating detail. Then he makes the official announcement: Kathy Engelbert is removed from her role, effective today. Room explodes. Some sit stunned. Some breathe sighs of relief. Some begin applauding, but Adam isn't done. He closes the meeting with a powerful vow. The WNBA will rebuild, and it will rebuild with the players at the center of it all. The news triggers celebrations across the fan base. The targeted players are reinstated and returned to their teams. Sponsors, recognizing the league's renewed commitment to integrity, restore their partnerships. The message becomes undeniable. This league rises only when its players rise. Adam Silver steps to the podium for his final press conference and declares, "This is a new era. No fear, no threats, no targeting, only basketball." The camera fades to black. The story closes, and the WNBA, in this dramatic fictional tale, is forever transformed for the... In the days that followed the board's shocking decision, the entire league found itself standing at a crossroads. News outlets across the country ran non-stop coverage of the scandal, analyzing every second of the leaked recordings, every tear, shed on live streams, every frame of Adam Silver's trembling headline statement. Social media became a battlefield of opinions, outrage, and fierce loyalty toward the players who had been wronged. Yet beneath all the noise, something unexpected began to take shape, something the league hadn't felt in years. Unity. Teams that normally competed with fierce rivalry suddenly found themselves talking, strategizing, and standing with one another. Coaches from opposing conferences held joint press briefings emphasizing that the culture of silence, fear, and manipulation would never again take root in their league. Even the rookies, many too young to have seen the early struggles of the WNBA, began speaking out, their voices confident and unwavering. The message was universal. The era of intimidation is over. Behind the scenes, Adam Silver convened a special recovery council made up of former players, coaches, mental health professionals, and league administrators. Their mission was simple, but monumental: reconstruct trust from the ground up. For the first time in league history, players were given direct representation in major decision-making sessions. Every concern raised in locker rooms, every grievance buried for years, every issue ignored under previous leadership was now placed on the table with no filter. The 4 reinstated players became symbols of resilience. When they returned to practice, entire arenas erupted into applause just at the sight of their warm-ups. One of them, who had struggled the most publicly, delivered a brief but unforgettable statement to the media. "We're not here to tear down the league. We're here to rebuild it with truth." Her words were replayed across television screens for days, becoming a rallying cry for fans and fellow athletes alike. Meanwhile, Kathy Angelbert's removal sent shockwaves far beyond basketball. Corporate boards, other sports leagues, and national organizations began re-examining their internal structures, inspired, ironically, by a fictional tale of accountability inside the WNBA. Commentators called it the Silver Shift, a cultural moment where leadership was defined not by control, but by protection. Weeks later, the league held its first Players First Summit, a historic event where athletes stepped forward to share their visions for the future. Ideas blossomed: safer reporting channels, guaranteed mental health support, leadership development programs, and stricter oversight policies to prevent abuses of power. For the first time, fans were invited to watch live, witnessing a league reinventing itself in real time. And as the new season approached, something magical happened. Ticket sales soared, merchandise sales broke records, sponsors not only returned, they doubled down on their support. The fans who had once feared the league was collapsing now watched it rise stronger than ever before. On opening night, as the lights dimmed and the crowd roared, Adam Silver took the floor for one final statement. Not a warning, not a reprimand, but a promise. "This league," he said, "was built on heart. Tonight, we honor the people who carry it. Welcome to the new WNBA." The crowd erupted. The players took their positions. The ball went up. Just like that, the story ended. In chaos, not in division, but in rebirth. A new era had begun.